Vince McMahon was backstage last night on Monday Night Raw, marking the first time the WWE Executive Chairman has attended a WWE show since his retirement last year. He was also sporting a bit of a new look that you can see right there. It's not the exact look, but Vince has got a mustache. We'll talk about that. Jey Uso turns on Sami Zayn and aligns himself with the Bloodline. We'll speak on the huge finish to Monday Night Raw this past week. Logan Paul versus Seth freaking Rollins has been made official for WrestleMania after Logan Paul's appearance last night on Monday Night Raw. The King of the Ring and Queen of the Ring tournament and event has been announced for Saudi Arabia in May. Kofi Kingston, an update on his possible injury ahead of the big match on SmackDown this week when it comes to the Intercontinental Championship. Trish Stratus is out of retirement. She'll be competing at WrestleMania in a 6-person tag team match. We've got details on that. MVP teases possibly a new faction for WWE. Carmella and Chelsea Green seemingly form a tag team on Raw. And we have the ratings for Friday's edition of SmackDown. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of World Wrestling Entertainment. And the biggest is the Executive Chairman Vince McMahon attending a WWE show, sitting in Gorilla for the first time since his retirement last July. And bit by bit, piece by piece, inch by inch, Vince McMahon is regaining more control, and putting his influence over the product, putting his influence over the company, which of course he is still the majority shareholder of, and he is the executive chairman of once again. Now, prior to Raw last night, rumors began to emerge. All of the journalists confirmed the same thing, that Vince McMahon was backstage at Monday Night Raw. Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select said, quote, WWE talent have confirmed to Fightful they have had eyes on Vince McMahon at Monday Night Raw in Boston, Massachusetts. Now, several indicated to Fightful that Vince, quote, looked different backstage. It was later told to Fightful that Vince had dyed his hair and was sporting a little mustache, end quote. Now, what was interesting about the dyed hair thing is there was a picture of Vince McMahon, I think it was by TMZ, that was put out there last year of Vince McMahon having a dinner with a mystery female, and he had jet black hair. Bear in mind, Vince McMahon is in his 70s and has been actively grey for several years. In more recent years, suddenly his hair started to become brown once again, but I don't know if he's got jet black hair like he did in those pictures, but he was also sporting a little mustache, which is incredible because as far as I'm aware, there are no pictures, I don't think, that exist of Vince McMahon with facial hair, as particularly a little mustache. By all accounts, Bruce Pritchard has said on several occasions that Vince McMahon would have to shave like all the time every day. He could grow a beard very, very quickly, but he's sporting a mustache. Now, talent do not know why Vince McMahon was there and were not briefed about it by any WWE officials. Now, it's worth noting that since retiring, Vince McMahon has visited John Cena multiple times outside of WWE. Of course, John Cena made his return to WWE television last night, booking his match against Austin Theory for WrestleMania 39. We spoke about that in a video earlier today. Be sure to check that out. And one talent had theorized that's why Vince was there. It was confirmed to Fightful that McMahon was there spending time with John Cena, as they were seen together by several talents. They did reach out to WWE in an official capacity, but I don't know if they heard back from him. But the general feeling was that Vince McMahon was going to be, he was just there visiting John Cena. He was visiting there John Cena, nothing else. Now, PW Insider also reported in their PW Insider Elite section that McMahon is, quote, not there to take over creative or even to run the taping, but, quote, primarily to visit Cena. PW Insider added that the regular production and executive teams are running the show no different than usual. WrestlingNews.co also reported that they have heard from two different people that say McMahon is just visiting. And further, Brian Alvarez of the Wrestling Observer newsletter tweeted at the time, quote, well, the claim is that he's just visiting. So seemingly everyone was saying the same thing. Sean Ross Sapp also tweeted saying, quote, everything that I've heard thus far indicates that people at Raw believe Vince McMahon is at the show to visit John Cena. He's visited Cena multiple times outside of the WWE over the last year. Of course, as I mentioned, McMahon had reportedly not been backstage at a WWE event since July 2022 until last night, making his appearance certainly significant. And that doesn't go to answer all the questions as to what he was doing there. Again, the speculation was that he was there just visiting John Cena. But speaking on Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer said, quote, he was in Gorilla all night. So what does that tell you? He wasn't barking orders at people or anything like that, but he was in Gorilla all night, and I was told they tell you he's only there to visit John Cena. That's the story, but there's more to it than that. He's doing more than they're letting on, but the person who was in control was Levesque, that being Paul Levesque, Triple H. It's not like he was there in charge and doing stuff, but it's not like he was there just visiting John Cena and saying hi to a few people then left. That didn't happen either. The truth is a little bit in the middle. So certainly that is a bit of a contrast and a bit of a development from what was being initially reported. Now, Paul Levesque, Triple H, did tell WWE talent in backstage meetings after McMahon's return in January that they, quote, may have discussions, end quote, about creative, but ultimately Levesque is the one who makes the final decisions. But what Meltzer is saying today, and whether or not you believe Meltzer, that's up to you. But what Meltzer is saying is there's more to it than he was just visiting John Cena, because he was in Gorilla all night. He wasn't there barking orders or directing the show or anything like that, but he's doing more than what is being led on, which does go with previous reports that suggest that Vince McMahon forced through the creative for Brock Lesnar versus Omos, which Brock Lesnar personally approved. So there could be a lot more fire to the smoke that is surrounding creative and having Vince McMahon being involved. And of course, more information will come out today. Certainly a lot of conversation will happen about it, so we'll talk about it here on the channel. Now, when it comes to Vince McMahon and what he's been doing since he returned to WWE, of course, he returned under the proviso of, I'm going to help the company explore strategic alternatives. I'm going to be front and center when it comes to a sale of the company. I'm going to be front and center when it comes to media rights negotiations. And Bookies.com has released its betting odds for which potential buyer is most likely to purchase the sports entertainment juggernaut, with NBC Universal parent company Comcast currently seen as the most likely candidate according to the odds makers. Not far behind them is Disney, followed by Amazon. Then the odds get a bit hazy as Endeavor is listed as a possible buyer, despite the company's CEO Ari Emanuel saying that it's not looking to take on any more debt during an earnings call last week, taking the UFC parent company out of the conversation. However, even when Nick Khan was on CNBC doing an interview, they had CNBC people, again, employed by Comcast, saying it looks unlikely and they've ruled themselves out. So it's, again, very interesting. Noticeably absent from the betting odds is the Public Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia, which has expressed interest in purchasing WWE. As I mentioned, Vince McMahon returned from his hasty retirement earlier this year to facilitate a sale of the company, with the current asking price rumored to be around $9 billion. WWE is not only looking for interested parties for a sale, but is also set to begin negotiating new media rights fees for both Monday Night Raw and Friday Night SmackDown. AEW President and CEO Tony Khan has even said he would be interested in the sale process of his competitor. So let me know your thoughts about Vince's return, his new look, and whether he was just visiting in the comment section below. It's a massive story, no doubt about it. Now, Raw this week was a big one for a variety of reasons. John Cena being there, Logan Paul being there, Trish Stratus being there, and the main event angle was one for the record book, certainly, with Paul Heyman, Jimmy Uso, and Solo Sikoa kicking off last night's Raw with a proclamation of events to come. Solo Sikoa would be taking on Kevin Owens in the opening bout of the night, whilst later Jimmy Uso would face Sami Zayn on marching orders from Roman Reigns to end them both tonight or else. When Solo Sikoa took on Owens, there was an impressive offense from both until Solo took the upper hand. However, when Owens had battled back and was on the cusp of victory, there was a big interference. Jimmy Uso rushing to the ring to attack Owens, causing the disqualification, but commencing a beatdown that then summoned Sami Zayn. In a later backstage segment, Zayn approached Owens and again pleaded for them to work together to take down the Bloodline. Kevin Owens continued to decline, however, restating that he wants nothing to do with Sami Zayn. Later, in a backstage segment, Paul Heyman told Jimmy Uso, if you don't get Jey back into the Bloodline by the end of this week, the Tribal Chief is going to blame you. Finally, in the show's main event, it was Jimmy Uso versus Sami Zayn in what was quite the emotional roller coaster. With Jey Uso running through the crowd to stand on top of the commentary desk, it seemed to play a factor in the distraction of Jimmy Uso. Sami Zayn was able to capitalize as he picked up a pinfall victory in the match, but the Usos then faced off in an emotional scene in the ring. Jey leaving the ring ring to join Sami on the outside in a warm embrace. However, it was short-lived as then Jey turned on Sami with a massive super kick to the face. Taunting Zayn for thinking that Jey would choose him over his own twin brother, the Bloodline was back together once more. The Bloodline commenced a group attack on Sami until the melee was broken up by the music of none other than the American Nightmare Cody Rhodes, as the show ended with Cody's presence keeping the Bloodline away. As I mentioned, it was certainly an all-timer in terms of show closing moments. The crowd was going crazy. There was holy shit chants. It was just so well done. And if you haven't watched it, go and check it out. It's tremendous. Look at the kid's face looking horrified as Jey Uso turns on Sami Zayn. As I mentioned, Logan Paul was also on Monday Night Raw this past week, and the WrestleMania match that has been expected between him and Seth freaking Rollins has been confirmed. Social media sensation Logan Paul made his in-person return to WWE to face off with WrestleMania opponent Seth freaking Rollins. On last night's Raw, Logan Paul returned to join The Miz and Seth Rollins in a segment to set up a big match for WrestleMania 39. With the excited Boston crowd squarely behind Rollins in the interaction, they played heavily into the segment. Derailing the ability for the exchange to begin, the crowd simply was having too much fun singing his theme song. In fact, next time he spoke, they continued singing to drown out Logan Paul's responses. However, Paul persisted, noting that he has publicly embarrassed Rollins twice, has accomplished more in 1 year, what it took Rollins 20 years to do, so it's understandable to hate him. Rollins going on to call Paul scum, a fraud and a human dumpster fire amongst other choice words, before punctuating the vitriol by informing him, "We don't want you in our house," to which the raucous crowd erupted, with The Miz attempting to break them up, but Logan Paul noted that he would not be fighting for free as a premium act. He did say that if the stage and the money were bigger, he would consider it. When Miz was boosted from the ring by Rollins to go to the back to make it happen, the pair of future opponents exchanged blows. After hitting a big right hand on Seth Rollins, he was knocked out as Paul stood tall and got back on the mic to tell Rollins that when he woke up, he could respond to his WrestleMania 39 challenge, and also added his own meme-worthy versions of Rollins' "Bye Bye Bitch" from last week's show for good measure before tossing the mic to end the segment. Later on Raw, the match between Rollins and Paul was officially announced for WrestleMania. As I mentioned in recent weeks, Paul has been a thorn in Rollins' side at every turn, but now the match is now confirmed for WrestleMania, and no doubt it's going to be a good one. Logan Paul, tremendous athlete. Seth Rollins, one of the best wrestlers in the world. It's going to be a classic for sure. Now, there had been a lot of talk recently about the King of the Ring and Queen of the Ring tournaments being announced and the event returning for the first time since 2002, the last time it was a pay-per-view. Last month, it was reported that the WWE King and Queen of the Ring tournaments would be coming back on May 27. Later that week, it was all but confirmed that these tournaments would be taking place in Saudi Arabia. After all, that's where the money is. This past week on Raw, it was made official the King and Queen of the Ring tournaments are set for May 27 in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. This May, live from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, it's all happening in Jeddah, all hail, the official announcement read. The last time a King and Queen of the Ring were crowned was back in October 2021, also in Saudi Arabia at Crown Jewel. Xavier Woods defeated Finn Balor in the men's final to turn a lifelong dream into a reality, while Zelina Vega made WWE history by becoming the first to win the Queen's crown after defeating Doudrop in the women's final. The location of these events may come as no surprise, as this announcement also comes during a time in which WWE is exploring aforementioned potential sale. Ever since Vince McMahon returned from retirement, talks have ramped up. Our previous reports of the Saudi Public Investment Fund purchasing the promotion were ultimately proven false. It was recently reported, as recently as last month, that Saudi Arabia is still interested in buying WWE. Whether or not this has anything to do with it, probably not. Probably not. But certainly, again, it's quite interesting. What was also quite interesting is that in this graphic and in the announcement, notably absent was the inaugural Queen of the Ring, Zelina Vega, who took note herself, tweeting, quote, "Love that the last and first Queen of the Ring wasn't shown in the clip, but okay." With then past King of the Ring winner Xavier is responding by uploading his own edit of the clip, this time seamlessly replacing himself and Queen Zelina between the other graphics. So there you go. The prior winners weren't even included, but now they are because of Xavier Woods. Now, speaking of Xavier Woods as well, there was some concern, wasn't there, about Kofi Kingston after some thought he had sustained an injury this past Friday night on SmackDown. And there's a possible update on Kofi Kingston's status for the SmackDown match this coming Friday. Twice during the Raw broadcast, broadcast. An advert ran for this week's edition of Friday Night SmackDown, where it references the fatal five-way to determine who would next get the shot at Intercontinental Champion Gunther for the title. The video continues to feature the originally announced 5 participants: Sheamus, Drew McIntyre, LA Knight, Karrion Kross, as well as Kofi Kingston. Notably, Kingston was spotted by fans in attendance to have possibly sustained an injury at the SmackDown taping, with Kingston himself later posting to social media showing his foot wrapped. While it's possible the advertisements simply haven't been updated yet, cards subject to change of course, it isn't clear, so we'll have to wait until an official report on Kofi Kingston's status comes out prior to SmackDown. It's entirely possible he is still injured, but it's still possible that maybe WWE are just waiting to see the severity of the injury. Now, the match has been confirmed for WrestleMania. Trish Stratus is back out of retirement. Obviously, Trish Stratus is regarded as one of the greatest female wrestlers of all time, particularly in the WWE sphere. And certainly, she's going to be coming out of retirement. She will officially coming out of retirement at WrestleMania 39, joining forces with Women's Tag Team Champions Becky Lynch and Lita in a 6-woman match against the entirety of Damage Control. The match was made official on this week's edition of Monday Night Raw, where Lita and Lynch thanked Stratus for helping them even the odds in their rivalry against Bayley and co. Stratus stepped out and told Lita, "I'll always have your back," and it was a pleasure to watch her win gold with the man. At this point, Damage Control confronted the 3 women in the ring. "You two are legitimately the reasons why we are in this ring right now," Bayley said, thanking the Hall of Famers for their contributions to the business. That said, the 3 of us, Damage Control, are going to be the reasons you never come back. At this point, Stratus referenced her promo on Raw last August, where she teased stepping out of retirement. "I warned I could go real quick from I am retired to I was retired," Stratus reiterated. "I couldn't think of a better place to shut your mouth up than at the grandest stage of them all." Stratus then looked at the WrestleMania sign and issued the challenge to Damage Control. Bayley immediately accepted the challenge, something that seemed to upset Io Sky and Dakota Kai. Thereafter, Stratus and Lita delivered tandem offense to throw Sky and Kai out of the ring, leaving Lynch and Bayley to come face to face in the ring. The segment ended with an upset Damage Control retreating from the ring. It remains to be seen if Damage Control implodes at WrestleMania, seeing as WWE has teased some tension between the trio in the last few weeks. Of course, Stratus had previously retired following her loss to Charlotte Flair at SummerSlam in 2019 in her hometown of Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Subsequently, Stratus teased the possibility of unretiring for a match against Lynch, especially when Lynch was portraying her big-time Bex heel persona. Stratus would also get physical at a pair of live events last August, coming to the aid of Alexa Bliss and Asuka during their rivalry with Damage Control. As such, the news of Stratus coming out of retirement has been widely expected and not surprising to say the least. And to be honest, she's come out of retirement a ton of times since she first retired back in 2006. Again, in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, at the time against her best friend Lita in a women's championship match. Since then, I think she's wrestled, at least 3 or 4 times, maybe even more than that, probably more than that. So her coming out of retirement isn't exactly monumental, but this match is certainly a big match for WrestleMania. MVP has teased a new faction after Raw this week. MVP, of course, he was the manager of the Hurt Business. He's current manager of Amos. And for months, MVP and WWE have been teasing the return of the Hurt Business group. MVP has now hinted at the formation of a new stable without Bobby Lashley, Cedric Alexander, and Shelton Benjamin. The WWE manager shared a photo of him backstage with Amos, Montez Ford, Angelo Dawkins, and NXT star Carmelo Hayes. It was previously rumored that Hayes, a former NXT North American champion, would be joining forces with MVP, following reports there had been discussions about Hayes joining the Hurt Business. Ford and Dawkins of the Street Profits have achieved a lot of success as a team, but have recently been showcased in the singles division, with Ford notably competing in the United States Championship Elimination Chamber match on February 18. Of course, Amos is scheduled to face Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania this year, a match that certainly is still getting people talking for a variety of reasons, to say the least. Now, a new tag team may have formed in the women's division on Raw this past week. Did we just see a new powerful alliance formed on Monday Night Raw? On last night's show, a backstage interaction from last week bloomed into a full-on friendship this week, with Carmella and Chelsea Green commiserating with one another about the general incompetence of Adam Pearce. They've seemed to struck up not just a friendship, but also a team, with Chelsea accompanying Carmella to the ring for her match with Raw Women's Champion Bianca Belair after their backstage bit. She proved to be integral in the match, with Green being described served as a powerful ally by Kevin Patrick on commentary, the match was not only fun character work but also filled with impressive displays of athleticism from all involved. In the end, the champ may have prevailed with the victory by capturing a pinfall win over Carmella, but her joy was short-lived as she was attacked by the pair. With a post-match beatdown, Carmella and Chelsea Green took shots at the champion until Asuka interrupted the party. Asuka spitting blue mist at Carmella, who moved out the way. The mist instead ended up hitting Chelsea Green square in the face. The segment ended off with Asuka and Bianca Belair as the pair pose in front of the WrestleMania sign. Most likely we'll get a tag team match, I would guess, next week on Raw involving all 4 participants. Finally, we have the ratings for this past Friday edition of SmackDown on Fox. And as one would expect, the viewing figures remain strong on network TV for the blue brand. Per Brandon Thurston of WrestleNomics, SmackDown drew 2.451 million viewers, which is up from the February 24th show that drew 2.408 million viewers. In the 18 to 49 demographic, Friday's show scored a 0.59 rating. This is down from the week prior that scored a 0.62 rating. Despite the drop in the key demographic rating, WWE still ranked number 1 in the key demo for the night. The show featured the first face-to-face confrontation between undisputed WWE Universal Champion Roman Reigns and his WrestleMania 39 challenger, the American Nightmare Cody Rhodes. Also, Solo Sikoa defeated Sami Zayn in the main event, but Zayn escaped the Bloodline beatdown to leave things still contentious with the family to end the show. But of course, the Bloodline is now reunited after Raw last night. But there you go, guys. It's the latest WWE news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. Remember, you can join the WN365 roster by clicking that join button. Let me know your thoughts on today's WWE news stories in the comment section below, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.